John invites us in Revelation 1, 17 through 18 into the most dramatic and life-changing experience of his life. And he's old. He's old and he's stuck on an island, the island of Patmos. He's in exile and he has a vision. And it is a vision that he calls an apocalypse, an unveiling is what it means. Or as we most commonly know it, a revelation, a pulling back of the curtain, a disclosure. And the technical and formal name for this is the revelation of Jesus Christ. And so in the first chapter, what does John describe? John describes Jesus, his encounter with Jesus. And this day we have an excerpt from that. And he says, when I saw him, now remember, this is John. John is most likely described in the Gospel of John as the disciple who was closest to Jesus, whom Jesus loved. There was a deep and affectionate and abounding and abiding friendship between Jesus and John. It's most likely John who was, leaning his head on Jesus at the Last Supper. They had a close friendship. But John says in this moment, seeing Jesus as he was, as he is glorified, I fell at his feet as though dead. And it just knocked me over dead. And then Jesus, he says, placed his right hand on me and said, and these are profound words, and they carry us all through the book of Revelation. They set the tone for the entire book. We're to remember this. These are the words for us, the readers who are looking for hope and encouragement and partnership in the midst of all of this that we're going through in this world. He says, do not be afraid or fear not. Why, John must be asking? Well, the question is answered immediately because I am the first and the last. And in Greek, the Alpha and the Omega. If you've ever heard Alpha and Omega, that means the first letter and the last letter of the Greek alphabet, the first and the last. I am the living one. I'm the living one. That is so profound for us. I'm the living one, the living one. Three words that you could meditate on for a long, long time. See, if you want to know what living ones look like, if you want to know what life looks like, here it is. John is laying it out for us. He's describing the vision where he sees the living one. And he says, now look, I am alive forever and ever. Or in King James, it says forevermore. I am alive forevermore. In other words, there is no way that death can touch me. And what does this mean to us? He says it. He goes on, he says it. I hold the keys of death and Hades, or Sheol in Hebrew, Hades in Greek. Sometimes it's gotten translated hell, but it is the realm of the dead. In other words, I have the keys. Now, what does he do with those keys? Well, he unlocks them. He unlocks death because he is the alive one. He is the living one. That's what he's doing. The living one does, he locks up death, but he unlocks the door to release the prisoners. Don't be afraid, he says. Don't be afraid of me. Don't be afraid of the glory. And don't even be afraid of death. I am alive forevermore. I am, he says, the keeper of the keys. Today, we think about someone who is standing before us in all of his exalted glory. Out of his mouth is a sword of truth. And he's about to unveil the way things are, and we get a glimpse in the rest of the book of Revelation of the spiritual battle that is in eternity and how the victory is accomplished. By the time you get to chapters 21 and 22, it's all amazing. It's all amazing. It's the wrap up. It is the completion of what you see in chapter 1. It brings it all together because you see, chapters 1 and then the end of the book of Revelation form the capsule in which everything else takes place. They form the reality that surround this war that's going on, that we're engaged in, this tug of war between life and death, between evil and good, between God and all that is against God. And the keeper of the keys stands before us, welcoming us into his presence and introducing John to the good news of the moment. And that is our good news of the moment as well.